stand. Better days and better nights as we stand and unite. We're one and the same. Why is it so hard not to point and to blame? Better sheet, get our houses in order and we'll see the peace. There are steps that we must take if we wanna see.
I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us.
The sake of us, the sake of us.
I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us. No more failing, telling me beneath. What a beautiful moment, and a sight I can't wait to see. Even if I miss it, at least I wasn't part of the mission. Changing lives of men, women, and children. All glory goes to He that causes us all to be. Oh, and if they're thinking we can, we show them that just as long as we stand. A monument, we the people can't be broken as long as we stay focused. I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us. For the sake of us. I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us. I see my people rising, yeah.
Shalom, shalom. Boker Tov. שמי נשיא קרשי שמע. אני מתפלל שהכל בסדר איתכם היום. I pray all is well with you all today. Oh HaBoker this morning. This is Kariya Lithpillah, a prayer call, right? Kariya Lithpillah. We do this 3 Tuesdays or Yom Shalishi out of the month. On every third Yom Shalishi, we do not. All right, so we're back. We're going to continue what we were doing when we were going through one of my books, Preserving Self, Preserving Love, the Divine Blueprint for Family and Marriage. But before we get started, those are just tuning in or watching this back, just make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you like, make sure that you share it if it's any information that's helpful. This prayer call is different from your normal prayer calls. Kariya, right? Kariya stems from or is in relationship to Wa'ikra. Kariya, Wa'ikra, right? Has the same root. And Wa'ikra is Leviticus. Wa'ikra is Leviticus. But it's, and he called, right? And he called. So why is Wa'ikra called Leviticus? Why is it and he called? The Most High called, or the Supreme King called Moshe for the people, right? And then when he gave Moshe the commands, right, the things to do, Moshe called the people, and he had to read these things to the people so the people could get an understanding, so the people could understand how to move, right? How to be in a relationship with him. So what we do is we go through scriptural readings, or we also call, a lot of people say Torah portion. Here at House of Balance or Beit Mazan, we say Seder HaKetubim, Seder HaKetubim. So when you're doing your readings, Seder is order of the writings, right? So it's order that's given in these writings that we as a people, back then, we were the ones that put the writings together, right? So it's not just stuck with Torah portions. It's any righteous writings that is utilized in every exilic moment that we are in that can help us get a better understanding of the principles of Torah. Well, we don't need anything, brother. We don't need anything but the Torah. We don't need anything but the writings 2,000 plus years ago. No, that's not and never has been culturally how we moved. All right. Righteous men, righteous women always left things for better understanding, to get closer to the Supreme King, to get a better understanding of the Torah. So today, or at this moment, we're reading through, again, a book of mine entitled Preserving Self-Preserving Love, the Divine Blueprint for Family and Marriage. We are on chapter 2. We already went over chapter 1. So why am I calling it a prayer call? Once we are done with this, we do a corporate covenantal intercession prayer. This is what you will see done often throughout our history, throughout our literature, throughout our scripture. Corporate prayer. You know, it could be done by, not it can be done, it is done by righteous men, righteous women. That's it, right? And oftentimes those righteous men and women, they would include themselves in the prayer, even if they didn't do it, because they understood that we are supposed to operate as a nation, right? Home is the foundation, house of Israel. The community is its mirror. Whatever we're seeing that's happening in the community is a result of the lack of foundation that we are executing. The Supreme King gave us the foundation, but if we're not executing it, the outcome of the community is based upon us. And the nation is the product. So the product that we have today is based upon us. All right. Order requires order. So a lot of us, we want things to change. We want order. We want these different things that we're seeing. We're seeing leaders and teachers and people that's not in office, that's moving wickedly, which we always have done that. And it wasn't but for the mercy and compassion of the Supreme King, who, for his name's sake and for the covenant that he's made with our forefathers and foremothers, that we're still here today. But order requires order. So if you want these things to take place, then you have to be in order. We have to be in order. Right? So yeah, you often saw these individuals, they would pray in that manner. And that's what we do at the end. After we go through our reading, we do a corporate prayer. Slicka. If there's anyone that desires prayer, personal prayer, then we just often ask that we repent, right? For whatever it is that we think that is keeping us or hindering us from the Supreme King. And then you bring it before us and we will go on your behalf. And it is always discreet, right? For those that trust us, they will. For those that's learning us, then, you know, keep learning us. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. We are in chapter 2, and we are on the portion dealing with friendship, structure, and balance in marriage. I think this is very important, very, very important. The cultural aspect of marriage is losing heavily in our community as so-called Black people. Also, even within our community as Bnei Yisrael. So again, we're going to go through this and see what we can grasp and take from it. All right. It says marriage is often romanticized in modern culture as a partnership built primarily on love and emotional connection. This is true. This isn't to say that isn't to say not to feel good, not to have, you know, these feelings that's outside of duty, this love, all these different emotions. It's not to say that you shouldn't have these things, but we have been influenced heavily in society with being romanticized. You hear a lot of people say romantic. He's not romantic. She's not romantic. Well, those of us as Bnei Yisrael, we shouldn't want to be romantic, right? Roman, all these different things. You know, Spanish is a beautiful language. You know, that's a Roman language. So oftentimes we're just regurgitating what we have been taught as far as when it comes to love. But that's not the case biblically, right? But marriage is more so, it was duty. It was duty for the nation, and it was duty for your home, right? Having the emotional feelings is still okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we lead with that, when that's the primary goal, we see often that we are failing. We are failing as so-called Black people. We are failing as Bnei Yisrael, especially. And as Israelites, we shouldn't be failing in that department because we should have an understanding of true covenant. But we don't. We don't teach covenant. Most of us don't understand what a covenant is because covenant requires accountability. And a lot of us do not understand accountability, or we run from accountability. So we're going to continue to see this failure. We're going to continue to see things outside of us that we want because we have not been groomed righteously. We have not been groomed righteously. I'm going to say that again. We have not been groomed righteously to understand what love is from a Hebraic standpoint, from a cultural Hebraic standpoint. We have not learned that. Again, it is okay to have these warm feelings that women have and some of the men have. It's okay to have that, but we cannot lead with that. When we lead with that, we fail. We miss everything that we shouldn't be missing as a nation. All right, so let's keep going. So it says, marriage is often romanticized in modern culture as a partnership built primarily on love and emotional connection. Shalom to you all that's tuning in right now. If you haven't subscribed, share, and like, we are in the second chapter of a book of mine entitled Preserving Self-Preserving Love, the Divine Blueprint for Family and Marriage. I won't go back over how I opened up. Just go ahead and listen back later, all right? Movies, television, social media, and even family advice tend to emphasize feelings, romance, right, and companionship. We use that word romance or romantic and don't even understand. Well, we may understand, but a lot of us don't understand that it derives from Rome. So we don't want to be romantic. We don't want to romanticize things, right? So we're looking at these movies, these television shows, we're watching social media, right? And we're allowing those things to be our therapy, to be what governs us on how to move in our home, to be what governs us on how to see other men or see other women. And it's not our culture. It has become our culture because it's all we know. But it's not who we are or how we move, not how our ancestors or our forefathers and foremothers moved back then. Even those of us in this truth. Right? And I don't want to get on us like that because a lot of us are just not aware. We're not aware of these things. So movies, television, social media, and even family advice tend to emphasize feelings, romance. So why is that important for me to highlight that? Family advice tend to emphasize feelings, romance, and companionship because they're coming from their school of thought, the school of thought that has been influenced within them. So now you may be someone on this path. And since you're not a part of an assembly, since you're not a part of what people call a camp, since you don't have leadership that understand this path righteously, who moves righteously, you go and you listen to other individuals that do not have the foundation that you are supposed to have as an Israelite. We go and find other thoughts and information and ideology from those outside of us when they are stuck in the romanticized way of understanding of love. All right. Again, this is not to remove how you feel emotionally about the person that you're with or the person that you want to be with. It's not to remove that, but we lead with that, and that's why we fail. While these elements are important, they are insufficient as the foundation for a thriving, resilient marriage. A lot of us, if you ask many people, what's thriving, what's resilient to you? Oftentimes they speak on the emotional side. Oftentimes we speak on the emotional side, right? What's thriving, man? He makes me laugh. She makes me laugh. She makes me feel good. He makes me feel good. I'm warm and fuzzy inside. Those things are okay. The problem is we lead with that. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom, Adoni. We lead with those things. Again, I'm not removing that. But that has been what we led with for so many decades now. So many. Shalom, shalom, cuz. It's good to see you as always. Look forward to seeing you again. We'll be in the Chicago area, me and my wife, in a couple weeks. My mom's 60th birthday. So I'll holler at you later or get in my mom too. All right. So again, you all just tuning in. This is one of my books that I wrote. This is the second chapter that we're in. This is Lithpillah, which in Hebrew is a call to prayer. Korea comes from the verb that is related to Wa'ikra, which is Leviticus, for those that may not know Hebrew. Leviticus really means in Hebrew, and he called, Wa'ikra. And he called comes from the Most High calling Moshe, and then Moshe calling the people, and he had to bring the information to the people that was written, right? So likro in Hebrew, to write. So in order to get the understanding of how to become one with the Supreme King, with the Most High, and also become one as a nation, we have to read and get an understanding. A lot of us go through Torah portions, right? What we do is Seder Haketubim. Seder Haketubim is order, right? Order requires order. A lot of us are upset with what happens in our lives, what's happening in the community, so-called Black community and Israelite community, but we are not in order. Order requires order, right? So Seder HaKetubim is order of the writings. So it's not just stuck in Torah portion. It's in any writings that helps our people thrive, help our people grow, help our people understand the principles of the Torah. So right now we're going through a book of mine, and in the future prayer calls that we have, we're going to go through other books that's deemed righteous that can help us in these times. All right, let's continue. So did I lose you all? Okay, here we go. So while these elements are important, they are insufficient as the foundation for a thriving, resilient marriage. We have to recalibrate ourselves on what the meaning of a thriving marriage is, or a resilient marriage is. True marital success rests on structure, communication, mutual respect, complementary roles, and intentionality. Intentionality right now, you all, is one of the biggest elements as to why we fail. Some people will say, hey, I am intentional. Oftentimes I have seen in our community as so-called Black people, even as Israelites, that we say a lot of things. A lot of times we regurgitate things. A lot of times we say things because it sounds good coming out of our mouths, but we're not operating within the things that we are saying. So being intentional is not saying I was intentional, I did this. I did this once. I did this twice. I did this 2 months ago. I did this 3 months ago. I did this last month. Intentional is something that's done often. It's something that we have to be often. It's a job. Marriage is a job. They have tricked us with these television shows and these movies. And there's nothing wrong with them, to watch it here and there, but we can't let that govern our lives and how we move and how we see things. It's an escape. But if you allow the escape to be the standard, then that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. All right. So it says, true marital success rests on structure, communication, mutual respect, complementary roles, and intentionality, drawing both from ancient wisdom and modern understanding, right? Everything modern is not wrong. Everything modern isn't wrong, but we always should revert back to that which is of old. And it's funny because we're like, man, we don't want that stuff is old, Old Testament, which I don't call it that. Think of sports. Those are the older ways, like the newer individuals are more advanced and things of that nature, but the new individuals wouldn't be where they are without having something to reference. which is the ode. That's how we thrive. We thrive by building upon the ode. Archaeology, they build on each other, right? When we go to archaeology, you see the cities building upon each other. They're learning from the cities. I mean, this is just me talking about it from a philosophical standpoint. They're learning from them, those before, and they're building upon them, right? You often hear me say, I stand on the shoulders of those before me. Learn from them. Learn their goods. Learn their bad. Learn what they failed in. Learn what they were successful in. This is how we should be viewing things, you know. Oftentimes we don't, but this is one of the best ways to view things, right? It says the question of whether spouses should be friends. Now we're getting into it. The questions of whether spouses should be friends within marriage is not merely philosophical. It has profound practical implications for relational longevity, family cohesion, and individual growth. So that's a huge question. Should you have friends of the opposite sex? A lot of people don't like this topic. Should we have friends, right? Friends of the opposite sex. Let's keep reading. So structure and as the framework, every successful human endeavor, whether governance, empire building, business, or family life, requires structure. Without structure, chaos prevails. Historical civilizations such as Kemet, ancient Egypt, and the Hebrew world exemplify this principle. The rise and stability of Commission society depended on clearly defined roles, communication protocols, and systems of accountability. The same goes for the Hebraic structures. And the reason I'm bringing out Kemet, because a lot of people talk about Kemet in our so-called Black community. So this, what I'm doing right now, this topic is for all of us. And a lot of us believe ourselves to be, Kemet. So I want to talk about that as well. The rise and stability of Commission society depended clearly defined roles, communication protocols, and systems of accountability. The same goes for the Hebraic structure. Similarly, families and marriages require an internal framework to function optimally, right? Y'all heard of an Optimus Prime, optimally, right? Like for you to be proficient and efficient. These families and both structures and marriages require internal framework. So we just can't come together and just build. We have to not just build together, but individually we got to work within ourselves internally. But we're not taught to do that. We don't think to do that. And if we do that, it's periodically versus daily. This is something daily. Right, the scriptures tells us, you see a lot of righteous men and women within our scriptures saying that they meditated daily. That's internally. Today, we just see a lot of people on social media spewing. But then when we look at their life outside of social media, we don't see anything about prayers. We don't see their conduct matching what it is that they're hoping for, what they're saying. The conduct is not there. The faithfulness of what we see our forefathers and foremothers are doing is not there. The influence of society is evident and prevalent in their lives. It's in our lives. So we're not working on a framework internally, but we're working on it externally for everyone to see. These things are very important. Marriage is no exception. A union without structure, boundaries, or agreed upon norms is vulnerable to misunderstandings, resentment, and conflict. Let me say that again. Marriage is no exception. A union without structure, boundaries, or agreed upon norms, what's normal for you all, is vulnerable to misunderstandings, resentment, and conflict. Why is it vulnerable for these things, these misunderstandings? Because you have not established understanding. Why is resentment coming in? Because someone is viewing something different than the other, and things are not feeling fair to one person or not the other because it wasn't established in the beginning. And why is conflict? Because why wouldn't it be conflict? Why wouldn't it be conflict? We're not on the same page. So structure does not diminish love. Rather, it enables it to flourish by defining roles, responsibilities, and communication standards. Couples establish a foundation that supports both individual growth and relational harmony, right? That's the internal side of things, right? When we're working on it internally and we coming together collectively and we're bringing it together, we're able to thrive. That doesn't mean you're not going to have ups and downs. It doesn't mean you're not going to get into it. It doesn't mean you're not going to have certain arguments. And the arguments don't have to be huge or crazy arguments, putting holes in the walls and things like that, knocking stuff down and storming out the house. Immaturity causes those things, right? So consider the ancient Semitic perspective. A marriage was not merely an emotional attachment. That is the case today. It's all emotional, both men and women, right? And it's masked with knowledge. It's masked with knowledge, but not with truth. What do I mean by that? We speak a lot of knowledge. And I always say social media because most of you are watching this from social media. Most of us live on social media. So it's masked with knowledge on social media, but the outcome of how we're moving in our real everyday life is not there. It's not there. We don't have foundation. And the number one foundation as it comes or deals with, a nation or a people is accountability. Elders, leadership. Of course, righteous is the goal. When you're dealing with others, that's elders and leadership and things of that nature, or assemblies. They have to be righteous. The truth of the matter is, a lot of people aren't. And that's what's causing a lot of people to be like, you know what, I'll just move by myself. But again, I always say this, if you're moving alone, are you keeping Torah? Well, we're in exile. We don't have the temple and things like that. Well, we have examples of them in exile. And we have examples while they were in exile, they still weren't moving alone. Because they understood in order to thrive and to still be successful, even in this exilic period, we need to be together. And we need to have structure. We need to have order. That way, like Jeremiah 29, that way when we have those things and we can marry our children with each other, there's a foundation and a structure and an understanding on how to move and the understanding of, okay, yeah, your warm feelings is all good, but we can't lead with that. That can be there, but the foundation and the structure, that needs to be in place first so that you can thrive, right? So everything you build upon the laughter, the emotion, the happiness, all that stuff, if anything is temporary, right? Because you can be happy one day and you can be sad another day. You can be happy one day, you can be sad another day. And a lot of times the negative always outruns the positive. The negative rules the positive. Just think about it. The negative things that happens in your life, the negative things that happens when you're in a relationship, marriage, right? Can make you think that, why am I here? Totally remove the positive and the things that's beneficial for your future and your family's future that has been positive, because the negative is that the emotional side. So both has to be worked on, right? Consider the Semitic perspective. Marriage was not merely an emotional attachment, but a covenantal relationship built on commitment, responsibility, and social order. Right? Remember, order requires order. A lot of us are tired of being treated wrong, or the men in the community doing the women wrong, or the women in the community not understanding or not respecting or not wanting to follow all these things. We complain about it all on Facebook. Women complain about it all on Facebook. Men complain about it all on Facebook. But I can guarantee you 90% of those individuals that complain about the men and complain about the women, 90% of them or more are not in order themselves. So how do you want order, but you won't operate in order? How do you want order, but you will not operate in order outside of your jobs, outside of the stuff that you want? You know, you want order. You want men to operate the proper way in this truth. You want women to operate the proper way in this truth. But when it comes to you operating the proper way, you will not. My Isha, my wife, often talks about that the woman's portion or the man's portion is how the scripture talks about the wicked, right? His portion is what he is. So your portion is what you are. A lot of times, there's exceptions to the rule, but a lot of times you can be a good woman, quote unquote. You could be a good man, quote unquote. But if you are out of order, then your portion is going to be something that's out of order. If you have no one to guide, if you have no community that you are a part of, you are out of order. That's just the truth. In our culture, from our history, from our literature, that is the absolute truth. So you have to expect failures, higher probability of failing. All right, let's keep going. Husbands and wives were entrusted with complementary duties, each reinforcing the stability and well-being of the household. How can you have stability without a community? Are there exceptions to the rule? Yeah, well, I'm fine. Me and my wife been married for 5-10 years. We've been married for 11 years. We've been together. We got children. We in this truth. We serve the Most High. We operate just off the spirit of the Most High. The spirit tell us what to do, and we are fine. Brother, what are you talking about? Well, my only question is, when your children gets older, who are they going to marry? Are they going to be on the same level as you? Are they going to serve the Supreme King the way that you know that the Supreme King is supposed to be served and honored? Are they going to get married to somebody else that's in the world, or do you not really care about that? See, it's not just, when I'm speaking about this, it's not really just about you. The Supreme King said, I have a plan and a hope for you. Said that to them during that Babylonian captivity. I have a plan and a hope for you. In Jeremiah 29, right? But when you go up, he gave us the plan while we were in exile. He gave us the plan on how to move and how to operate in exile. Why? Because as individuals, right, that want to serve the Most High, who we surround ourselves around more is where we're going to go, and we begin to go further and further and further away. You can just ask, you can ask Zerubbabel. You can ask Haggai. You can ask Ezra and them. When the remnant of out of 1 million people was only about 30,000 people decided to do what thus says the Most High through Jeremiah. So community is very important. That's the foundation of structure. Assemblies are very important. That's one of the foundations of structure when it comes to serving the Supreme King. Serving the Supreme King is just not one person or one family. Serving the Supreme King is a community of individuals. Even if you say, well, Abraham, he wasn't Israel. Well, he had a lot of individuals around him. It wasn't just him and his wife. It wasn't just him and his wife and a couple children. Well, Jacob, or Jacob, it wasn't just him and his wife. It was a lot of people. Esau, it wasn't just him and his wife. It was a lot of people, even though we understand what a lot of people feel about Esau and stuff like that. What I'm just showing you as Hebrews, you often saw a nice amount of people together, especially the righteous ones. A lot of them were together because they understood accountability. So let's keep reading. Husbands and wives were entrusted with complementary duties, each reinforcing the stability and well-being of the household without adherence to structure. Without adherence to structure, modern marriages risk repeating cycles of dysfunction, miscommunication, and disengagement. How can I prove it? You hear people today. I've been watching. I ain't going to tell y'all what I've been watching because I plan to, me and my Ishai, we plan to have another segment on House of Balance Network. We may bring that forth. So, but you see a lot of women, you see a lot of men, they often are, they break up in marriage, they leave because the other person wasn't doing this in their eyes. The other person wasn't doing what they both planned. So what is that? What is that? That's structure. They structured something. They said something prior. They thought they were going to move this way. And since it didn't happen, it became dysfunctional. They wanted to leave. They got divorced. Why? Because structure is important. It is the foundation of anything that is, whether it's a company or whether it's a marriage. We can lie to ourselves and say, well, we're moving along. We let the spirit, I'm good. But we are lying to ourselves because we prefer structure, no matter if we're not even operating within structure. Wait, that don't make sense. Yes, it does. We prefer structure, even if we're not operating within structure. Why? Because most of us are breaking up, getting divorces, leaving relationships, whether it's a business relationship or whatever it is, due to the structure, the structure did not go through. Due to that is why we remove ourselves. That is why we leave, because one party or both parties did not get the fulfillment of what it is they agreed upon or said in the beginning. Structure. So why isn't that? It's a lot of different reasons as to why. Who you have around you, what are you watching, what is influencing you, right? Another point of view that you're saying to yourself, oh man, you know what? I think like that too. I should have said that in the beginning. It's so many factors, but one of the biggest parts of this repeating cycle is allowing others outside of you all to come in. You need to have your foundation. But when I say that, I'm not saying just you two and no one else. I'm talking about those even outside of your community that have different ideologies, different theologies, right? Different moral standards. All these things play a part in relationship. All right, relationships. So the role of friendship, this is what we get into. This is the topic. The role of friendship in marriage. A spouse may serve as a confidant, companion, and co-strategist, enhancing relational satisfaction, yet the heart of marriage remains faithful, stewardship, accountability, and covenantal fidelity. Within the Most High's ordained structure, the husband exercises stewardship over the household and the wife fulfills her complementary, vital role, supporting and strengthening the family. Friendship and mutual respect deepen the bond and enrich daily life, but they cannot replace the essential responsibilities inherent in covenantal roles, right? So friendship is good. A lot of people say, well, I got to be friends with my husband. I got to be friends with my wife. I want them to be my best friend. You all do know that is a fairly new concept. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, modern understanding here and there is not wrong. They do studies today to show, well, it can last longer if you're friends first. You got other studies that show opposite. But I wanted to implement in saying that You cannot replace the essential responsibilities inherent in covenantal roles. Because if you do, down the line, that foundation is not set, it will still break. There are many men and women who thrived in the beginning of their relationship because they were best friends, but they had no foundation. And a lot of you who are watching this back or watching it now know people that that were best friends in the beginning, or maybe you were a best friend in the beginning with the person that you were with, but you did not have a foundation. And what happened? You're not with them anymore. You didn't have a foundation. And what happened? You're not with them anymore. Foundation can mean community as well. Removing outside sources. All right. So together they work in harmony, honoring their distinct roles while building a thriving household grounded in the Supreme King's design. Research in family psychology consistently shows that couples who prioritize friendship, I just said this, without establishing clear structures. So there's nothing wrong with trying to prioritize friendship, but most times we're not establishing clear structures. They often experience miscommunication. Wait a minute, we're best friends. How are we experiencing miscommunication? Because best friends in real life experience miscommunication, and their foundation is not in their mind. They may say, "Oh, we're going to be friends for life," but marriage is different. It's a lot of things that need to be set in place. A lot of things, because you have children that's going to be coming into play, right? You have retirement type things you want to have in play. You have homes and property and land that you may want to have for your generations to come. You're not thinking about that as friends. When you're not, not man and woman, but your regular friends, you're not thinking about that. It's different. So research in family psychology consistently shows that couples who prioritize friendship without establishing clear structures often experience miscommunication, role confusion, and dissatisfaction. Let's say something. Let's bring something out. Role confusion is important. In friendship, it's not no role. It's no roles. The friends that you have, the girlfriends that you have, the buddies that you have, there's no roles. So it's no confusion. Right? You have sometimes, this is when you see certain relationships perfect example. If you have a basketball team, there's not going to be a role confusion between the coach and the players. A star player and a role player. They're both doing the job. They're both essential to the game. They're both essential to winning. They're both essential to offense and defense. But they have their different roles. You have your shooting guard, you have your point guard, you have your small forward, your power forward, your center. And all of them have different roles, but they're equally important. But their roles are different. Your star player is, now when I say equally important, the person, Dennis Rodman was known for getting rebounds. One of the best rebounders ever. But then you had Jordan, who was one of the best scorers on the team. Well, the best scorer on the team. Their roles in their role was equal. Jordan didn't get rebounds like Dennis Rodman. But their roles weren't equal. It establishes balance, right? A commander or a general is not going to be, those as not a commander or general is not going to be equal to that person, because that person has more responsibility. And people get offended about the word equal. We don't understand what equal means, right? 60 plus 40 equals 100. But 60 and 40 is not equal. But they equal 100. It's collective. These things need to be taught properly, because now you have everybody bumping heads and combative. All right. So that's that role confusion. And if it's not understood what I'm saying, we'll talk more on it later. I'll bring it out a little better. But all you have to do is just look at the divorce rate The divorce rate as so-called black people, and even the divorce rate as Israelites. We don't understand how we're supposed to move our roles. This goes for men and women. All right? And with that, you have dissatisfaction. So true friendship within marriage involves shared values, mutual respect. Let's say that again, mutual respect and compatible lifestyles. Respect is important. You know, the men always talk about we need respect. And we do. Respect is what we need. But the women need respect too. We thrive more on being respected, but the women need respect as well. Even though it might say, well, you know, they need love, they need time and all that. That's still a form of respect. You know, so we need that. All this stuff is important. Couples who engage in joint activities, exercise, creative projects, or spiritual practices reinforce their connection while cultivating shared experiences. Right? These shared pursuits create a common ground that strengthens the marital bond beyond initial attraction or romantic infatuation. Attraction and romantic, right? I put that because of what we just talked about as far as romantic. I don't say romantic. I try not to, anyway. But the initial attraction or romantic infatuation is only for a time. Right? Some people might say, well, no, I still feel that way. I've been with my wife for 25 years. I still feel that way. I've been with my husband 25 years. No, you don't feel the exact same way when you first got together. It's the other things that you're doing, the bond that you're doing that's continuing to strengthen, the joint things that you're doing together that continues to strengthen your marriage. Because when you don't do those things, a lot of people, they get divorced after their children are 18 years old and up. Because why? They don't have anything else in common. The only thing they had in common was their children. Foundation, structure. All right. So, however, it is essential to recognize that friendship in marriage is secondary to structure and complementary roles. It should be secondary. It should not be the determining factor or the leading factor. If it is the leading factor and the determining factor, you will fail. That sounds so crazy. It sounds so authoritative, right? When I say that 9 times out of 10, you will. There are exceptions to the rule. So I'm not knocking that. But all of us are not the exception. Foundation and structure is the most foundational things to use when it comes to relationships. That's just what it is. If you don't believe me, think about yourself or think about many people that you know that tried to lead with friendship and tell me what happened. Tell yourself what happened. When love is placed above account, and this goes to, like, even if you don't think about, if it's not about marriage, this literally can go with people in the truth or people, so-called black people that become friends. They lead with friend. That's my guy. What up, Ak? What up, Achot? You lead with that. You lead with that. And then all of a sudden you don't like the person because you didn't learn the person. You didn't build structural foundation. You didn't build a covenant with them. You have not created a covenant with them. Now you're getting hurt. Now you don't like it. You got with a camp. You didn't go to all camps. Everyone say all camps. Haven't even been to any of the camps or been to one camp. Right? Didn't study them, didn't court them. And then you find something that you didn't like. And now you're saying all the stuff that you're saying about everyone. Which makes you not a great judge of character. Because you went there. You committed yourself to them. And now everyone is wrong. No. If we were all keeping Torah, if we were all understanding how to move, Scripture tells us often to prove a friend. That also means prove an assembly, prove a kahal, prove a community. Because every community is not for you. Just like every person you run into is not for you. But when you make them that and you say all friends or akot or ak, and you have not did the work to build that foundation, you're putting yourself in place to start now resenting what did not work because you chose that. We have to think on that. We got to put things on ourselves a lot of times first because we make the decisions to go that route. All right. I'm going to go for a little while longer and we'll have to continue. All right. So when love is placed above accountability, boundaries, or mutual responsibility, a marriage becomes susceptible to imbalance, right? A false balance is an abomination to the Supreme King, to the Most High. So becomes susceptible to imbalance, confusion, and ultimately relational breakdown. Friendship should grow as a byproduct of intentional partnership. I put this in here too because this book is not just for us as as Israelites. I don't ever say partnership. Anybody that knows us as House of Balance Ministries or House of Balance Assembly, Beit Ma'azan, know that we don't use that term. But this is for everyone. So-called Black people who might get a hold of, this book right here. This is the book that we're going over right now. All right, Preserving Self, Preserving Love, a divine blueprint for family and marriage. So this is for a lot of our people as well. And a lot of our people say partnership. All right. So not as a substitute for it. Complementary roles, ancient wisdom, and modern practice. Historically, marriage has been viewed as a balance of complementary roles rather than a simple hierarchical dominance. Men and women contribute distinct yet interconnected strengths to the partnership. In ancient Semitic thought, a husband and wife function like interdependent organs of the body, each essential to the health and vitality of the whole. So remember I was speaking of like the teams and how the power forwards and the centers and the small forwards and shooting guards and point guards, how they all have their roles, but they build together, right? That's the same thing with the body. But the metaphor of the rib is instructive, right? A lot of people say, well, my Isha or my wife is my rib. Just as the rib protects vital organs, a wife safeguards the emotional, spiritual, and relational well-being of her household. Likewise, the husband contributes stability, provision, and protection within his sphere of influence. Mutual protection and respect are foundational principles, not optional ideals. Okay? A lot of times when we are speaking, when we're thinking about certain things, this is ideally, right? Ideally, this is what I want. Ideally, this is what it is. No, that can't be the foundation. Not optional. In our community, this should not be optional. When it becomes optional is when we're going and allowing outside influences to influence us because it looks green, it looks better on that side. Shalom, shalom to everyone that's tuning in right now. Shalom, shalom. All right. I'm going to get ready to close out. Hopefully I can end this chapter and then we're going to go into the corporate covenantal prayer, intercession prayer. All right. So without them, the family structure becomes vulnerable to internal conflict and external disruption, right? Without these foundational principles, the family structure becomes vulnerable to internal conflict and external disruption, right? If we have this foundation, we should not allow anything outside of us to disrupt what we have built. And when I say outside of us, I'm not just saying your husband and your wife or your Ish and your Isha and your Yaladim. I'm saying when I say within us, I'm talking about even the community that you are a part of, because we need that. Again, there are exceptions to the rule, but that is not the exception that the Supreme King has given us. Ultimately, he or it wants us to be together, but we are the ones that's choosing not to. Modern sociology or supports this view. Research shows that the couples who clearly understand and honor each other's unique contributions report higher levels of satisfaction, emotional intimacy, and resilience. When complementary roles are ignored or misunderstood, resentment, disengagement, and marital instability often follows. All right. Let's see how much we got left. I think this is the last part. Communication as a lifeblood. Effective communication is the most critical component of a successful marriage. Effective communication. Well, we communicate. No, it has to be effective. It has to be effective. Intentional with our communication. It has to be a goal, something that you're striving for the success of whatever that subject is. It has to be intentional. That's effective. Not just having a conversation and then leave it at be. Well, having a conversation. Like, these things are very important. We need to treat it like a real job. Like, they have meetings to make sure, see where they're at, see where you're at. Love alone will not sustain a union without structured dialogue. Structured dialogue, right? I'm putting structured dialogue in there for a very important reason. Structured and clarity of expectation. Misunderstandings inevitably arise. Ancient traditions emphasize explicit, concrete communication. Words were precise, right? Supreme King tells us through our literature, throughout the Tanakh, to preserve your words. He doesn't say don't speak. He's telling you to preserve your words. Make sure what you say has meaning. Make sure it's to build your people, not to destroy your people, right? Unless I'm using you to destroy what they're doing so you could build them back up to righteousness. And even with that, there are certain people that are being used. Everyone wasn't able to do that because everyone wasn't righteous. So ancient traditions emphasize explicit, concrete communication. Words were precise, agreements were formalized, and misunderstandings were addressed promptly. Practical application of structured communication involves establishing boundaries, agreeing on acceptable behaviors in public, social, and online contexts. How do you want to move? All right. How are we going to move in the public? What about on social media? How do we function? How do we what do we do with our posts? All right, we can see on social media how some marriages operate, how some homes operate based upon how they're posting a lot of times. Conflict resolution, committing to resolve disagreements respectfully and privately. We have people that argue in front of each other, snapping in front of each other, doing it in front of the children. And disrespectful is all heck. Mutual accountability, regularly checking in to ensure both partners uphold agreements. Again, I don't say the partners, but again, this book is not just for us as Israelites. And today's society in today's society in the modern world, they use that term partners. I think in the beginning of the book, I actually say the difference of, my belief or our belief as it pertains to that. Clarifying expectations, defining roles, responsibilities, and shared goals to prevent misalignment. Scripture underscores the importance of communication and mutual responsibility. For example, Proverbs 15:1 states a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger, right? Again, before I continue reading, everything is contextual. So when I'm speaking, when I'm bringing certain things out, this doesn't mean that this goes on every occasion, every subject. There's a time and a time. It's a time for certain things. But for the most part, this is one of the things we want to focus on. Words have power, and the conscious use of speech to build understanding can strengthen the marital bond, while careless or reactive speech undermines it. Careless, reactive. You want to be proactive and you want to care, right? So everything that we say or we bring out, especially in our marriage, it should be with the idea of caring, right? Well, I am responding like this because I care. That's another topic. We'll get into that. All right. We're going to stop there. We're going to stop this there. And we'll next Yom Shalishi, we'll continue with this. I'm going to go ahead and open up with a prayer. I hope that you all hope it was something that was said and read that can help strengthen your home or strengthen your future home. Or if you think it's needed for someone else that's out there, please share this. This one and I think last week as well. I think I've been doing the reading of this book for the last 2 or 3 Tuesdays. This past Tuesday, we didn't, because every third Tuesday or every third Yom Shalishi, we do not do prayer call or call to prayer. All right, clear your minds, everyone. Borenu abidu malkinu. Ani מבקש שנבוא לקצה שלך. שמע את הקול שלנו. סלח לנו על כל מה שהיא, גופנית, רוחנית ונפשית. Our Father, King, our Creator, as that we approach your throne, please hear our voice. Please forgive us for any uncleanness that is spiritual, physical, or mental. Thank you for another day of life. Thank you for allowing your spirit to rejuvenate us. Thank you for allowing us not to hear any bad reports, those of us that are watching this or watching back. I pray that that is the case. Thank you for your word, for your spirit. Thank you for what you have given our forefathers and our foremothers, those that were righteous. And thank you for the mercy and the compassion and the patience that you have with those of us that are operating in wickedness, oh great King. You are sending people before us that are wicked, that can help mold us and shape us and show us who you are. We ask that you continue to do so for your name's sake, for the covenant that you made with our forefathers. If we have offended you, please forgive us and teach us your paths, your truths, and your ways as thou hast stated, oh great King. Please look after those that are less fortunate, the poor in spirit, the poor in finances, the fatherless and the widows. Send someone before them, because the fatherless should not have a man present, and the widows should not as well. We are a community. We are a nation of people who are supposed to be a nation. We're not operating as that. We know one day we will be that again. But until that happens, please show your people the importance of coming together. Show your people the importance of understanding that there are wicked ones amongst us, but we should not remove ourselves from what you have established because of it. We do not see that in any time of our history, but we're seeing it now in 2026. And we are more wicked than ever today. We are more arrogant than ever today. And it's showing in our homes. It's showing in our failures as husbands and wives. Is showing as in our failures of even getting a husband or wife. Please strengthen our understanding, strengthen our love for you, strengthen our love for one another. But you have given us those tools. It's up to us to be strengthened within ourselves. We thank you. We glorify your name forever and evermore. We will forever praise you, those of us that are righteous. We will forever serve you, those of us that are righteous in your eyes and in your sight. Bless your name forever. Halueta Makoaniski, Halueta Koachaniski, Halueta Malaka Leon. Praise the eternal power, praise the eternal source, and praise the supreme King. All right, you all. May the Most High bless and guard you all. If you are just coming in now, make sure that you watch it back once it is posted. If it's something that you pull from it that's beneficial, please make sure that you come back and tune in every Yom Shalishi. Well, every first, second, and fourth Tuesday, we do a prayer call at 6:45 Eastern Standard Time. On Yom Rebbe or Wednesday, make sure you tune in at 4:10 or 4:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Fab Chats. That is with my wife and her sister, my Isha, my Achot. They come on and they give encouragement for the women and children and do things like that helps build us. And also at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that same day on Tuesday, we do Sage Talk. We have it in a couple weeks, but we're coming back this week to do Sage Talk, me and Chief Prince Zabulin. We have a couple more platforms we will be coming out with on House of Balance Network on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe. Go ahead and type in House of Balance and then Network. You'll find our channel if you're not familiar with it. On Yom Shabbat, if you are someone that observe Yom Shabbat on Saturday, well, Yom Shabbat is Saturday, but if you are someone that observes Sabbath on Saturday, tune in with us. We make sure that we come in on Yom Shabbat as well so that we can have service for those of you that may not be a part of an assembly or a congregation. And if you are interested, you can go to our website above my head to see what we're about. If you're interested in, learning more about us, you could email us at houseofbalance12@gmail.com. If you are looking for a community that keeps, that builds on integrity and accountability and structure and righteousness and balance. A false balance is abomination. That's what Beit Ma'azan means. House of Balance, Beit Ma'azan is house from balance, actually. And a house cannot be established unless it's built from balance. And the Supreme King is supposed to be that for us. And he's supposed to bleed out that spirit and that understanding and that balance within us. And we're losing that. So this is what all of these things are for, what we're doing for our people or for the Supreme King's people. And if you're interested, hit us up. So Yebrechem, Yahweh Yishmerechem, may the Most High bless and guard you all. Shalom, shalom. Until next time.
I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. I see a dream, that dream is green. And I don't mean material things. Freedom to the land, child, woman, and man. As we take up for what we stand. Better days and better nights. As we stand and unite. We're one and the same. Why is it so hard not to point and to blame? Better sheet, get our houses in order and we'll see the peace. There are steps that we must take if we want to see.
I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us.
The sake of us, the sake of us.
I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us. No more feeling, telling, being beneath. What a beautiful moment, and a sight I can't wait to see. Even if I miss it, at least I wasn't part of the mission. Changing lives of men, women, and children. All glory goes to He that causes us all to be. Oh. And if they're thinking we can, we show them that. Just as long as we stand. A monument. We the people can't be broken. As long as we stay focused. I see my people rising. No more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America. Us. The peace rose for the sake of us. For the sake I see my people rising. No more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America. Us. The peace rose for the sake of us. I see my